What up, YouTubers? Welcome to another episode of Vaping Daily. Today I'm going to show off the Fuchai Mini. It's the mini version of the Fuchai 213 or the 213 Plus that was recently released. I have the 213 Plus right here on the side just so you can kind of see comparison kind of side by side. It's a much smaller device and it's only going to be single battery this time around. So it's basically just a mirror of what you've seen previously. Same with the, I'll show you the blue one as well. You're basically looking at just a mini version of the Fuchai 213, which is pretty cool, but it's almost one-to-one, but just scaled down. So as far as differences between them, really the only thing that I've seen, aside from the one battery sled, is the landing pad right here isn't exactly the same. It's a little bit smaller. With that all being said, I'm going to go ahead and just dive into it and show you guys the specs and what you're going to be looking to expect from this device. The Fuchai 213 Mini is a aluminum alloy plus zinc alloy finish, so it's got the sleeve and aluminum cap design from the previous setup, so same materials and everything. It's a little lighter than the other one, obviously, because it only has one battery, but without the battery in it, it's a kind of similar weight. It's not a very plasticky feeling thing or anything. It does feel very solid for how small it is. The wattage range on this guy is going to be 10 watts to 80 watts in power mode. The temp range is going to be 100 to 300 Celsius and 212 to 572 Fahrenheit. Your voltage output is 1 volt to 7.5 volts. Your minimum resistance is going to be 0.1 to 3 solid ohms. Your micro USB is going to charge at 5 volts at 1 amp. So you're going to want to make sure that, obviously they're going to provide you with power cable, but you're going to want to make sure that when you're charging this device with your micro USB that you're using the appropriate cable, the DC 5 volt at 1 amp. And then also they have an overheat feature on this guy, which I'm pretty sure has already been implemented in previous designs, but the overheat feature, not to be confused with the too hot on screen feature, is basically just to prevent any melting of circuits on the board itself. So the screen will display overheating when the electronic components on the PCBA are actually starting to heat up. So again, I'm not really sure if it's a different thing than previous models, but they state that it is, so I'm going to assume that it does have some kind of different upgrade on it. Also, I noticed that when I'm firing this guy, it does sound like it has a little PWM hum kind of going on. So I'm not sure if they've incorporated some sort of potentiometer into this guy or if I'm just hearing some other inner workings on the board. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and throw my Smok TF-V8 on this guy. I've got the basic, just single coil Cardo on this tank right now, which some of you might be familiar with. So I'm going to throw in that. It's coming out to 0.16 ohms. I'm going to hit it at 80 watts right here. And you can hear, even at 80 watts, it's cracking off pretty nice. So it will fire like the newer Cardo tanks and stuff like that. Even though it's only 80 watts, it's a nice solid wattage. So you do get a nice vape off of it. I don't personally use this guy in temp control a lot, but if you were to use temp control, it has all of the same functionality and everything. So you'd be able to dial in your typical settings. You may just notice that you're going to get a little less battery life than the 2 battery version. So that being said, I'm going to kind of run you guys through how you're going to set up temp control on this device if you want to use it. I am just going to use this same tank that I have on here, so don't tear me apart for not using an actual stainless steel. I'm going to just go ahead and show you how to set your settings so that if you have a stainless steel or titanium or temp control setup, you can dial it in so that it functions properly on this device. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click the fire button 3 times consecutively, so 1, 2, 3, and it's going to take me into my main menu. Now from here you can select your different modes, and for me, I'm wanting to go to 316 stainless steel. You'll notice that in this menu before it actually said stainless steel, and when you would click it, it would let you select the type of stainless steel you're using. This time around, it doesn't say stainless steel, it just says 316, 304, and 317. So In my case, I usually use 316. I'm gonna go ahead and click that, Fahrenheit, because I usually use that. And I'll set it to, we'll do 500. Okay, so you would think that going straight into this menu, you'd be ready to roll, but with these systems, you actually want to do a little bit of a setup beforehand. So there's gonna be a couple steps that you're gonna run through. The first being, you're gonna want to read and then set your resistance. So to do that, you're gonna press both the up and down buttons together, and you're gonna hold them, and it's gonna show you resistance. Now you've got read or exit, so you're gonna go ahead and click read. It's gonna show you your resistance, and then it's gonna lock it into place. Now in the previous design, you actually had to physically go back into this menu and lock it, but it doesn't make you do that anymore. It just says read and exit. So once it's red, it's locked. So you can just move forward at that point. Once you've got your resistance locked in, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna press the fire button and the plus button together, and it's gonna take you into your preheat power adjustment. Now once you're in this menu, this is basically going to kind of jolt your coil with this wattage for this many seconds to get up to temperature. So it's only gonna use what it needs to get up to the temperature that you have set, and then it's gonna back off. So if you want a harsher, more immediate throat hit from your temp control, you're gonna dial your watts up. And you're gonna set that honestly at 80 watts. I'd max it out personally. You could probably go a little lower, but if you're going for a hot vape again, I'd run the 80 watts, and then I'd run it at about anywhere from 0.1 to 0.3 seconds. And so now, like I said before, it'll burst that coil just to get it up to 500 degrees, and it'll back off. So you may notice that my battery bar is pulling really hard at first, and then it jumps back to where it's actually pulling, because that's the period you see here where it's jumping down. That's where it's actually using that temp or that wattage to heat it. And then here is where it's backing off and going back to, okay, now I'm at 500 degrees. So it's a nifty little feature, but without having it explained to you, it can be kind of a pain in the ass to figure out just looking at it. So that all being said, I'm gonna go ahead and run this in power mode just to show you guys how it functions. Like I said before, it's not something crazy, but it's a nice little vape, so we'll show it off anyways. All right guys, so this is the Fuchai Mini at 80 watts with the TFT. Material that murder the dance floor. Murder the dance floor. Murder the dance floor. Maniac material that